For now, though, on Thursday, South Korea's suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol will appear before judges before they decide whether or not he'll be formally removed from office over his martial law decree last December. Mr. Yoon was suspended from office after Parliament, led by the opposition left-wing Democratic Party, voted to impeach him. If the judges on South Korea's Constitutional Court do decide to remove Mr. Yoon from office, an election must then be held within 60 days to choose a new president. Well, his supporters have been protesting across the country to demand that he be allowed to resume his office. And Nemo Kim is a reporter in the capital, Seoul. She joins us live. Nemo, I think you've been following these demonstrations over the weeks. Do you think it's the case that support is actually growing for Mr. Yoon?
Yes, the approval rating for Yoon is currently at 51%, which is the highest during his term. And that's despite Mr. Yoon being detained. And pro-Yoon rallies have noticeably larger crowds, with AI experts estimating they're at least 2 times bigger than anti-Yoon ones. And the pro-Yoon numbers seem to be growing every time I cover their rallies. And many of his supporters told me they decided to back Mr. Yoon after learning about the situation from his martial law decree speech and doing their own research about the opposition using their parliamentary majority to veto and impeach 29 key government positions and cutting key budgets like after-school programs and policing. And after the martial law decree, the opposition and much of the media here accused President Yoon of attempting an insurrection. But it's been since revealed the opposition removed the insurrection charge before submitting the impeachment case to the Constitutional Court. And Yoon supporters say they feel deceived by this omission, especially after all the media coverage surrounding the charge. Right. And one more thing is that it's been revealed that several Constitutional Court judges have pretty serious issues, including the head judge being linked to an online group of thousands of child porn materials and others having ties to law firms owned by opposition figures.
Goodness, right. Well, I mean, so it sounds as if support is growing for him despite his legal worries. We can hear now from a couple of supporters who've been protesting recently, and they told us why they're angry he's facing removal from office.
In Korea, gender inequality is worse on the left. Left-wing politicians have committed more sex crimes against women, and the movement that shaped Korean left-wing ideology grew on the exploitation of women. That's why I support the right wing.
The president has been fighting a lonely battle, so I joined the protest to help increase participation. Supporting the right is not about misogyny, but about common sense. I'm simply someone who values common sense. Without martial law, I wouldn't have known about the Democratic Party cutting budgets and misusing impeachment.
A couple of views there. Nemo Kim still on the line. Interesting that they're bringing up the issue of gender again, and that has been key to all these demonstrations, I think. Just explain that for us.
Yeah, that's right. I met Ko Hyun-jung and Park Ji-seok. They're both in their 20s at the inauguration event of Yoon supporters, 국민변호인단, a group set up by Yoon's legal team. And it was set up just a few days ago, and the membership has now gone over 180,000. And as you said, the whole issues around the gender issues and fewer young women initially supported President Yoon and his presidential campaign, you might remember, primarily targeted young men. But more young women are now appearing to be joining pro-Yoon protests, citing as Ms. Go said, opposition's history of sex crimes and what they call the opposition's collaboration with the media. And they do seem to have a bit of a point, because what's puzzling is that most Korean legacy media and international outlets, including BBC Korea, are overlooking, or they say underreporting, this growing support for Mr. Yoon, which is the support is now pretty much over half the population, according to several poll results. And this is something that his supporters are acutely aware of.
And just a quick mention on those polls, you're confident that they're accurate, are you?
Yes, it has been more than 2 or 3 every week, and the numbers have been going up each time the polls have been taken. And the poll companies obviously have left-wing, right-wing leanings, looking at their track records, and all of these poll results reflect the same trend.
Nemo, you've drawn our attention to a K-pop style song that's been inspired by Mr. Yoon's declaration of martial law. We can just hear a little bit of it now. I don't know how influential this has been in getting support for him, but what can you tell us about the significance of this song?
Right, the song's called Martial Law Proclamation by the artist ORS, and the lyrics are taken directly from Mr. Yoon's martial law decree speech. The song's garnered 800,000 views on YouTube, and ORS he says that they have a day job and makes pro-Yoon music as a side project. And many young Koreans are now expressing their support for President Yoon online, with scores of other pro-Yoon music channels gaining massive popularity.
OK, Nemo, we're obviously talking about the legal issues surrounding Mr. Yoon, and we're delighted to say that we're joined in the studio by 2 lawyers, in fact, our guests today. So I know they have questions and comments on this, questions for you. Sada Kadri is here and Lucy Claridge. Any question?
One question is, to what extent do you think this support can actually influence the outcome of the impeachment proceedings?
Right, that's an interesting question, because normally in criminal trials, the judges would base their verdict on the legalities of it. But the Constitutional Court, of course, they're supposed to base their verdict on legalities, but they have been known to be influenced by public opinion, and that is obviously what pro-Yoon supporters are aiming for, to try and show their support for President Yoon. And the place right outside the Constitutional Court is just too small to accommodate all the supporters. So there have been pro-Yoon rallies all across the country on weekends, around 20 or 30 and this is basically the aim of pro-Yoon supporters, to try and show the level of their support.
Make it a national thing. Sadakat, we've heard from many countries, not least the United States, this accusation that legal systems are being used as lawfare. I don't know whether that would be appropriate here or whether that's been a question. But
well, yeah, I was wondering about that, because impeachment procedures are basically they're meant to be a check or a balance in a democracy, but they can also just show the fragility of a democratic system. And when I heard about this story, I looked it up and I realised I didn't know this before, but apparently there have been more than a dozen impeachments since South Korea's democratic constitution was set up in 1987, and it seems to me that everyone is going to regard this as a political tool. We've seen that in the States. Of course, when Donald Trump was impeached twice in his last term. And so I suppose I just wonder if Nem's got anything to say about that. Does anyone take it seriously?
We are coming up to the end of this hour, but our thanks to Nemo Kim joining us live from Seoul. And there's lots more to come after the news, which is up next.